So I'm getting ready to install the trailing arms onto the frame. Now, I've got the frame pretty high up off of the lift. I'm going to lower it, and the reason I'm going to do that is because if I try to install this, it goes in this hole right here for that. And if I leave it at the height it's at, this right here is going to cause me to have to hold up the weight of this trailing arm while I get the bolt in. And that's kind of difficult to do with one person. So by lowering it, I can rest this part of the trailing arm on the ramp, and I don't have to hold the weight of it up while I insert the bolt. So that's my plan. So I'm going to bring this down pretty much as low as I can bring it before I start. Okay, before putting the trailing arms on, one of the things you want to do is make sure that the bolt will go in the hole. Since I painted these, there was some paint in that hole. So I took a bolt of the same diameter and rammed it through from both sides to make sure that this would fit. Now, they give you 2 flat washers. This is the stainless set of trailing arm bolts. 2 flat washers, trailing arm bolt. One of the flat washers goes in before you put the bolt in, and you must put the bolt in from the other side. The nut goes on this side. If you would put the bolt in from this side, there's no way in the world you would be able to ever get it out without taking the body off again. So I'm going to move the camera, hopefully give you a better vantage point for the actual install process. I'm sure I'm going to be blocking your view from this for some of the process, but what I'm trying to do is get, and I'll probably move the camera again, but I'm going to start the bolt in because no way you'll get the bolt started while holding the trailing arm in place. So hopefully you can see this. You almost have to be on both sides of this thing at the same time. It's a little difficult from that standpoint because you almost have to be on the other side to push the bolt through. And you have to be on the trailing arm side in order to get the trailing arm in. So hopefully you can see that now. The bolt is started a little bit. And I'm going to go you can just see the bolt. Let me zoom in on it a little bit closer. You can see the bolt going through right there. Now I have to lift the trailing arm up, line it up with that bolt, push it through there and the other hole. So that's going to be the trick. Oops, almost forgot. I want to grease that thing before I put it in. I don't want it to rust weld it to that bolt again like it was on the ones I took off. You might be wondering why, since they're stainless bolts, why I felt the need to lubricate those to prevent rust welding. But there are different grades of stainless, and some of them do rust a bit. I had some that I used on a Jeep, and they did in fact rust. When I had to take them off, it was a problem. That's tough even with having something to support it on. It's in an awkward position. Get some 2x4s or something to support the other end of that. But I don't have that brake drum on for extra weight. Okay, I've got the trailing arm balanced on a 2x6 actually. Can't quite see where the pocket is from here. I'm going to try to move the camera. So there's the trailing arm. It's propped up on a 2x6. There's the spot where we're trying to get the bolt through the trailing arm and then out the hole on this side so we can connect it. Let's see how good we're lined up. If I can see anything. I can't see it from here. Okay, the trailing arm's got to go in further. Okay, I can reach a little bit here. All right, if I can get the hole lined up. Now I've got grease on the bolt. It's making my gloves slip. Kind of got it started. It's actually resistance in the hole that's holding me up right now. I believe the bolt will go right into the trailing arm if I can pry on it. So let's see. Get the trusty pry bar out. Gotta be pretty close to coming in. I've got the bolt through the trailing arm bushing. Oh yeah, I can see it right there. Whoops, camera tilted. So I can see the bolt right there. Let's see what happened with the cardboard I've got there. Hit the camera and tilted it. So I can see the bolt. Needs to be rocked this way a little bit and pushed in. I sure wouldn't want to be doing this job. Trying to hold that trailing arm up with all that weight, especially with one person. I don't even know how well it would work with two. Okay, once you got that through there, flat washer goes on. Lock washer goes on. There's a castle nut that goes on. These are 5/8 bolts, by the way, on the head, not the bolt. I believe the bolt's 7/16. Okay, now, this is where alignment shims go in on either side of the trailing arm. But you can't align it until the weight of the car is on it, and that's going to be a while. So I may stick some in there just to kind of hold it in place, but that's hard to see where I was working. Hope it showed up better when I was putting those on, but that trailing arm is technically connected. So from there we'll go to the other side. So I just noticed something on this flange. Now this is the passenger side, which I didn't replace this time, but somebody had worked on it before. And this replacement flange has a hole in it that's big enough that you might be able to get in there and remove and replace that clip that holds the parking brake shoe on. So you could do one side and then rotate the axle to line it up with the other one, and potentially that would make it easier to do a parking brake job on the car. I'm going to check to see if the one on the other side has that feature. So I decided just to get some parts out of my way, I am going to put the brake drum and the shim on here. This is the side that I kept the reference marks so that I could put the brake drum and shim on in the same orientation as I had when they were taken off the car. So I will get some lug nuts to hold that on so they don't fall off, and then it's on to the other side. So I'm going to just throw a shim or two in on this side. This is what the shims look like. If you have an earlier model Corvette, they've just got a hole here, and that meant you had to take the entire bolt out to adjust the alignment. But you basically put that in between the, it goes over the bolt in between the shim and the, the trailing arm bushing and the frame, and then it drops down in the frame. And don't know if you can see it here, but there's a hole there that a big cotter pin goes into to keep them in place, keeps them from falling out. I'll just demonstrate where it goes. I don't think they gave me new cotter pins when I bought all this stuff, which is kind of silly because why would you buy stainless shims and not get cotter pins? So that cotter pin goes in right there. Goes all the way through. It's as long as this bolt. Goes all the way through to the other side. You bend it over, and that keeps the shims from falling out. It shouldn't, because you put 50 foot-pounds of torque on that bolt, and then you cotter key it in. But you never know. With the motion of the suspension going up and down, it may actually work its way loose and fall out. So I'm sure that's why it's there. So I'm going to just add a couple more just to take up some room, and then I'll go to the other side. Okay, you can take everything back that I said about the mounting bolt. As I was taking off as I was getting the other one out for the other side, I noticed that they had the lock washer next to the head of the bolt, then the two flat washers, then the castle nut and the cotter pin. And when I look at this one, which I installed with the lock washer on the castle nut side, I don't think that castle nut's going to tighten far enough to get you to the holes where you can get the cotter pin in. So I think that the lock washer has to go on the head side of the bolt. Now that's not normally where you put them in any other application, so that's why I got confused, but my apologies on that. We're going to put it in the other way on the other side. Okay, we're kind of ready to go. I've got the bolt all greased up. On this side, as I said, I believe this is the way it goes. The head, lock washer, flat washer. And it goes through the frame and through the control arm. Hole there. Close to the hole. Through the bushing. If I can see where I gotta go to the other side. I think I need to angle that trailing arm back towards me. This will give you a little opportunity to see in real time, so to speak, what it's taken to get this lined up. Hard to get that through there. In a little bit. I can feel it at the end there. Got it too. I think before I said that the heads were 5/8, and that is true on the other side, on the head of the bolt, but the nut is an 11/16. So I will stuff some shims in there just to take up a little bit of the space. I don't want to tighten this down on the shims yet. So I'm going to have to take the other side off because I can tell already that putting it on this way is going to give me enough so that I can get the cotter pin through that castle nut. I didn't have that on the other side. So that one's going to have to come off and be put back in. Fun, fun, fun. That's why I call this fun with cars, mostly Corvettes. But that is going to be it. I'm not going to video correcting my mistake on the other side because you've seen everything there is to see. So the trailing arms are on. Well, that wasn't too hard. I was glad that I wedged those shims in there because I had them in there tight enough so that when I pulled the bolt out, the trailing arm never moved. So it came in and out relatively easily. Put them back in. They did come out whenever the trailing arm did shift after I got the bolt started, but not through this last part of the frame. And as a result, I had to take them out. But they're back in, ready to put the castle nut and washer back on. I'm not going to put the cotter pin in because I'm just going to put those with the shims. I already have that nut on. What I need to do now is just tighten it a little bit. So I'm going to put the cotter pins with the rest of the shims because I know I'll need to get into that to do the final alignment. For now, I'm just going to snug this up a little bit. Readjust that 2x4 that I have because it's sitting under the dust plate on the brake drum. I'm going to put it under the sturdier part of the, if I have enough strength to lift this, sturdier part of, wow. To the other side pretty easy. Must be getting tired. Trying not to kick the camera while I'm here. I have no leverage from where I'm at. Can lift it up a little bit, but then I can't move the 2x4 because I have both hands involved in lifting it. There. That is better than sitting on the dust cover. Because it's likely to sit that way for a while. I finally did get the differential in. And then I realized that I bought a new differential and a new it's the cover and what mounts the differential to the frame. And I didn't want to take the old one apart. Because it's perfectly good. I just wanted to change the gear ratio. So this is upside down, but this cover, they didn't give me bolts for it. They didn't give me a drain plug. Oops, be nice if I aimed the camera where I'm pointing. So this part here is the cover, and this is upside down, so it mounts to the frame on the other side. They didn't give me these bolts that hold the cover on. They also didn't give me a drain plug, so I had to order those. And those are supposed to come in today, but I kind of want to paint the whole differential with some clear coat engine paint so that it doesn't rust, because I can't determine whether the rebuilt differential that I bought actually has any kind of a protective coating on it. The cover plate and mount appears to, but that's separate and it's a different color. I can't tell whether they just sandblasted it really well or maybe dipped it in acid to clean it all up. But whatever they did, I cannot determine whether or not that is coated with anything to prevent it from rusting. And since I'm doing all this work, I would like to prevent it from rusting, because pretty much everything else has a coating on it that's going to prevent it from rusting. So that's going to be it for today. I'm going to put the brake drum on the other side. There's no shim over there because I had to drill out those rotors. And I put it on a new spindle, so I'm going to have to check the run out on that and possibly shim it. But that's for the final assembly.